All right, go ahead and roll for perception.
I got a 13.
Hey, that's pretty good. With that, you can tell there's some fantasy situations going on. You hear some adult language, and with that, you can tell this podcast probably isn't for kids.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Dungeoncast. I'm Will.
And I'm Brian.
This is the podcast where we talk about everything Dungeons and Dragons, from bulbous bards to benevolent bugbears. And today, we're talking about the Paladin.
Prepare yourselves.
I cast Fireball. The Dungeoncast.
You ready?
I'm ready.
All right.
I'm ready to talk about paladins.
All right, Paladin time.
Again.
All right. So, the most holy righteous warrior in all the land, the Paladin, is actually my second favorite class for a number of reasons. The main one, I think, is I'm just a sucker for characters with a code. And the code is kind of baked into this character. It's the only class in the game that really defines a big part of your RP just by being it. The thing that defines Paladins is their oaths and their code of conduct that comes with those oaths. They live by it, they die by it, it's everything to them. Paladins are typically religious characters a lot of the time. It's a religious class, but it doesn't necessarily have to be.
Right.
In 4th edition, they lock you into worshipping a deity. In 5th edition, they do not. And from my understanding, in previous editions, they did not. But one of the things that you were locked into, you were actually locked into a lot of things back then, but you were a righteous warrior. You had to be on the side of good. You had to be lawful good. And
it can be pretty boring.
It can be pretty boring, but it also can lend to some poor RP experiences, because some of the stuff they had you locked into was so resolute that you just couldn't be a person. You had to be a superhero, basically.
Yeah.
You couldn't watch anybody in your party do ill because you would have to stop them immediately.
Yeah, if it breaks your code, you can't allow it.
Exactly, which doesn't really make sense in real life terms, because we all have different codes of ethics and whatnot, but you can't just go around telling people what to do.
Yeah, if you're ever out and about and somebody just is no, yeah, you got to stop that right now, and they're not the cops, that'd be kind of weird.
Yeah, absolutely. And here was the thing, even when your oath is to something that isn't let's say a god, let's say your oath is to a king or a kingdom,
that's really interesting.
Yeah, it's a interesting way to go about it, but even then, your oath was more so to a righteous cause for the kingdom than the kingdom itself. If the kingdom became evil, your oaths to the kingdom don't matter anymore. It's your oaths to the righteous cause. Now, what I like about more current renditions of the class of Paladin is you're not necessarily locked into lawful good anymore. You're actually technically not locked into any alignment, but because of the nature of the class and the fact that you are taking oaths that you are resolute on, you are stubborn on, these are the things that you follow, lawful. Do or die. You kind of have to be lawful. If you're going to be in my game and you're going to play a paladin that's chaotic good, you're going to have to come up with a way that works. Be creative with it. I'm not going to stop you.
Yeah, is there a god of chaos that you could worship?
Sure.
That's just kind of into that. Go figure it out, my boy.
Yeah. And that's the thing. You could serve a chaotic good deity, and so maybe your oaths are more loosey-goosey.
Just get it done.
Yeah, right? And you could do that. Again, I'd force the player to get creative with it. But we're going to talk more about the traditional paladin, and the traditional paladin is really well reflected in the player's handbook. Cool. But we'll also talk about different ways to go about reflavoring a lot of stuff. My paladin that I'm playing in your game is exceptionally reflavored to an extreme amount.
To a borderline evil almost.
Yeah, he is lawful neutral and even borders on evil. And we'll get a little into that.
I guess it's good for neutral to you swing both ways, whatever serves your purpose. If it's good, so be it, and if it's evil, so be it.
Yeah. It can be even a cop out in a way to be lawful neutral, but yeah, that's the thing about lawful neutral. Good and evil don't mean that much to you.
And that's opposed to another paladin that I'm intimately involved with Glader Bright Scales.
Oh yeah.
That boy is. He makes you feel safe.
He does because he's very powerful.
Yeah.
Paladins in this game hit fucking hard, and he's exceptionally tanky, which is pretty traditional. Paladins are usually depicted as holy knights with a shield and full plate armor. They're ready to just dive in there. They can take hits. They got a good HP pool, and that is still reflected in this edition of D&D.
This is a giant dragon man with a big hammer.
Yeah, absolutely. And
some lightning breath.
in this edition of D&D, the Paladin guy has that 1d10 hit point hit die, and which is the only thing better is what the barb gets, and he's got proficiencies in all weapons, all armor, all shields, and again the traditional look is the plate armor.
Right.
That heavy armor keeping you protected.
Big shield a lot of the time.
Yeah.
There's a guy I play in Diablo that his shield projects an astral kind of force field that looks like the shield.
Oh, that's cool.
And comes out in a cross sometimes. You can set it up so it comes out in 4 different directions.
Oh, that's awesome.
And he's just so meaty. There's 6 guys on him. He's just pumping his shield at him and blowing up. Yeah,
the Paladin's very tanky. In 4th edition, the Paladin is insanely tanky. It actually falls under the role of a defender. In 4th edition, each class had a combat role that it would kind of adhere to, and for the Paladin it was defender, and it could defend.
So what are we hitting first on the Paladin?
Before we dive into the features, I was doing some reading, and I was kind of curious of where did this concept of the Paladin come from?
Right.
We already kind of had the war cleric, which is already a holy divine class that also is martially proficient and adept. Yeah, that it can dive right in there and hit shit with its hammer
in the name of God.
In the name of a god or God, yeah. And I think a lot of people get a little not confused, but it can be a little confusing when it comes to what's the difference between a paladin and a war cleric. And the main difference that I can see is that, again, it comes down to the oaths. Paladin is a zealous fighter that has a righteous cause, and a paladin is usually a fighter gone religious versus a war cleric is someone religious gone fighter.
I see.
Also, a war cleric doesn't necessarily have to be for any cause whatsoever outside of just loving to fight and loving battle and pushing that agenda forward and going out there and getting involved in fights and wars. While a paladin is, again, someone with a cause, someone with a purpose. Paladins, by their nature, are almost always leading an adventuring life because they're out there trying to get something very specific done.
Yes, they have a goal and they have a journey.
Yeah,
they usually have to walk a lot of miles to get there.
They do, yeah. They're very determined class. They're a very focused class. And they had a really bad reputation pre-4th edition of being a real stick-in-the-mud class because, there was a very real in-game effect for not adhering to your code. You would straight up lose your power. You would have no more paladin spells.
I'm into that, though.
Yeah, it's cool.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
It does. I feel like it was a little too easy to lose your power as a paladin because, life is not black and white. And even if your paladin sees things in black and white, where do you draw the line?
Yeah, you gotta have some leeway, forgiveness of sin, if you will, or whatever you want to flavor it as.
Oh, and there was that mechanic as well. You would lose your powers until you atoned.
I was explaining the cleric to a new player, and I was like, "Hey, make sure you roleplay correctly. Make sure this is what you really want, because if you are going to be a cleric, a holy cleric, you need to make sure that you're not just vindictively or absentmindedly killing things."
Well, it depends on the god that you serve.
Because in this particular case, it was a lawful good kind of a sacred thing, and he's hey, if I don't take the light cantrip, let me blow up a bat with sacred flame to cast
something
light.
a life cleric just wouldn't do. You just wouldn't do that.
So I had to remind him make sure that you do that because your god is gonna fucking forsake you. Maybe, probably.
It's quite possible. I've seen other iterations where you don't lose your power, but it is encouraged. Your DM is encouraged to if your paladin is stepping out of line too often, maybe stories of him doing that start to spread, and like members of his order come for his ass.
Oh damn!
Yeah, and I really like that. That's really cool because like then you got a problem. Now you got 6 paladins rolling deep.
Now it's up
ready for just you. They don't care about your party, so like your party probably sick of your shit too. So your party's like, nah, take them.
Hey man, how many paladins did you say they're coming for you?
I'm cool on that. I don't need 6 dudes in plate armor rolling up with their
not.
divine righteous smiting
With giant pointy shields, just right in the eye.
But yeah, paladins are a lot of fun, and I'm glad that they've managed to make it so that you don't have to be the stick in the mud that you used to. Because it used to be like, if someone said that they were going to roll a paladin, the rest of the party would kind of groan and be like, oh man, okay.
Like, great, man. I wanted to roll a rogue.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I know, right? And then there's often very commonly I hear stories of paladins and rogues coming at odds because they're, the opposite of each other. Chaotic neutral, usually, versus like lawful good.
Also
it's
mechanically, like big and loud versus small and stealthy usually, or slender and stealthy.
Absolutely. And there used to be straight up like restrictions where it's like you weren't allowed to even try and stealth as a paladin because that's a coward's way.
Oh shit!
I like that type of restriction is ridiculous. Like I'm sorry,
man,
like
that really limits the freedom of roleplay.
Absolutely, and that was the problem with the paladin. It really limited the freedom of roleplay.
Like sometimes, like you're right. Life is diverse. Sometimes you gotta sneak.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta sneak, even if you don't like it. You don't have to like it,
right?
But like it shouldn't like put you under threat of losing your powers. I think that's silly. But you know what? That's everyone's game is different, and if that's how it works in your game, fuck yeah, like it should work like that because it's your game and that's how it works in your world.
Have you ever had to depower a paladin?
I've never had to. And
how does that even work? Can you repower up? Can you like prove yourself again?
In this edition, it would be at the DM's discretion.
Right.
I don't think I'll ever have to worry about it with Glader because of the nature of Glader's. He's very passionate about what he does. He's really, really into justice smiting.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Killing.
Yeah, exactly. And there's plenty of that to do. Like, there's just a lot of bad stuff happening, so he can go out and do it.
There's a whole manual on monsters.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And there's a good example of like a big difference between styles of paladins and styles of clerics. He serves the god of justice, who is lawful good.
Yes.
But like he ain't the god of life. He ain't the god of like happiness and kindness and all that. He's the god of justice.
He's the god of get it done.
He's the god of get it done, and he's the god of killing that which is evil and stopping it at all costs, kind of deal.
I was gonna say, if in another circumstance, Jake's character might be like Glader might be more chaotic, right? Like he kind of in the way he does things, like in a like if it not, I mean under a different god.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, yeah.
Like a character going out and getting the job done, like in the way that Glader does it is kind of chaotic. Like Glader can kick down doors and like do what he has to do.
Yeah, this is where the alignment chart starts to not make sense when you apply real world scenarios, because like on one hand, Batman, we're gonna use Batman, is incredibly paladin like. He has a code, he follows that code. Yes. He's very zealous, he's very vengeful, and he's about bringing criminals to justice.
Indeed he
is. Without a doubt, like that's very paladin like. But on the flip side of that, like how lawful is he? He really doesn't have any respect for any kind of law whatsoever.
Or your medical bills.
Like he's a vigilante, he's breaking the law there. He doesn't leave it to almost anyone but himself. He doesn't even really respect Superman, like when it comes to like getting the job done. Batman trusts no one but himself. Like how lawful is he really? Like that's up for debate. But that's why the alignment chart is just a loose set of rules. You can't hold on to it too tightly because it will fall apart and break when you actually start role playing.
Yeah.
But let's get back to
what is lawful.
Yeah.
Really, what does that really mean? Even.
Yeah, exactly. But let's get into like what the Paladin can do, what the Paladin's famous for. So the Paladin is, much like all my favorite classes, capable of dipping its toes into a lot of abilities.
Yes.
Like, it is very martially adept, like we discussed earlier. It's
lots of different weapons.
Lots of weapons. It gets all martial weapons, all simple weapons, both ranged and not ranged. It gets a fighting style like a fighter, but not till a later level.
Right.
It is very focused on getting in there with the melee, and it acts more as a tank, but also is very offensively capable, which is a nice addition of this
There's some really cool, like, tricky combat things you can do with a paladin.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Opportunity attacks and things like that.
Absolutely. With the paladin, though the paladin is very capable of like dipping its toes in all directions in a jack of all trades type of way, it's also very capable, and I would say almost encouraged for the paladin to really focus on one of the many things it can do. Like you can build a paladin that is a tank and a half, like a straight up black hole that sucks all combat into itself and just absorbs it all while, the rest of the party does all the damage. Or it could really focus in on healing, which is something the Paladin is famous for.
Laying on some hands.
It will probably never be in the same healing tier as like a cleric or even like a druid that focuses in on healing, but it can heal very well. You have the lay on hands ability, which is a strictly Paladin ability throughout all the editions. Is one of the things that will never change. Like the Paladin has a thing called lay on hands.
He's gonna touch you.
He or she will touch you and literally instill life energy into you.
I love those jokes, man.
Yeah.
Let me put these hands on.
I saw a meme the other day where the Paladin had a crush on the druid, and the druid needed healing, so asked the Paladin to lay his hands on her, and he got all like embarrassed.
I saw that.
Yeah, it was funny. But
he was all giddy.
Yeah, he was all giddy about it. He was like, "Oh, she asked me." But yeah, lay on hands. I've seen iterations of lay on hands where you could not use it on yourself. And I looked at the wording in the 5th edition Player's Handbook, and it says a creature, so I think you can use Lay of Hands on yourself.
Not specific enough to discount it.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but yeah, Lay on Hands is their main healing ability, but also Paladins get into spellcasting, much like the Ranger. They're a half caster, so they don't gain spells at the same rate as a cleric does, but about at half the rate. But most of their spells are very supportive spells. They're very defensive based. Yes. They're very healing based. And so you can spec your Paladin to really focus in on that healing if you choose.
Yep, you're like running like tank support. It's really it's overpowered.
Yeah, it's very powerful. Which isn't to say though that the spellcasting doesn't have a lot of offensive stuff too.
Right.
It's just that Paladins get another feature called their Divine Smite, which is a very, very staple feature for the Paladin.
So cool
in which
every time it goes off.
It operates very much like a spell, but it more operates in place of a spell. So the way Divine Smite works, once you're level 2, you get it. You can sacrifice spell slots to focus your divine magical energy into your attack, into a single attack, and you get like, I think it's 2d8 radiant damage if you use a level 1 spell slot. If you hit. And then when you do that, you burn a slot. So it's not a spell, but it's kind of a spell. And you're going to be doing, for most of your offense is going to be that. You have offensive spells, but most of your DPS is coming from Divine Smite.
Bread and butter there.
Yep, that's it right there. And for each level slot you do above a level 1 slot, I think you get an extra D8 damage.
So cool.
I mean, as you're getting into the higher levels, you burn a level 5 slot, you're doing, what is that? I can do math. 68 extra damage, on top of the fact that you probably have 2 or 3 attacks in total because you're that high level. Right. Yeah, it's pretty brutal.
It's big meat boys.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing that Paladins traditionally get is a certain levels of immunity to that which is evil or bad. Yeah. I believe you get complete immunity to all diseases and sicknesses in this game by level 3.
Holy crap! I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's as a DM, like I'm like, damn, like there's a lot of things I can't do to you now, like just because.
I remember getting poisoned. That was weird.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's another thing. Lay on Hands doesn't just heal HP. You can actually you get a pool of HP that you can apply when it comes to Lay on Hands, and it comes in 5s. Okay. And you can use 5 HP of that pool to cure any poison or disease that a character has. Like, how fucking handy is that?
Always.
On top of the fact that you're immune, so like, you're using that on an ally. That's 2 people that don't got to worry about it. So yeah, it's very handy.
I was surprised by the Paladin for like the first 3 games, and then I was just like, oh, he's doing something fucking ridiculous. Oh yeah, for sure.
That's just how he rolls. Yeah, absolutely. The Paladin is also known for its aura a lot of the time. In 4th edition, there was a version of the Paladin that had a defensive aura. I don't remember what it was called, but basically it made enemies that were within that aura have to focus their attacks on you.
Which is cool.
In this game...
Big gravity thing.
Yeah, in this game you get the fucking most annoying thing for me as a DM, for whatever reason, it's just saved your party's ass a million times. but you get an aura of protection, which whenever there's a friendly creature within 10 feet of the paladin, and they are forced to make a saving throw of any kind, they get to add the charisma modifier of the paladin to their saving throw, which I think for Glader is a +4.
It's a +4
on top of whatever.
It's bonkers.
Yeah, and it's just like, geez, you got to save off everything.
It's a +3 or +4.
It doesn't matter. It's a lot,
really
and
high.
it's like for some reason he's always within 10 feet of whoever I'm making make a save, and it's like, God damn it.
Well, he basically just stays next to our warlock at this point.
Yeah, which is good because that dude's squishy as hell.
Oh yeah, it's
glass
surprising.
cannon, definitely. So let's get a little bit more into the oaths. So in the player's handbook, they got 3 basic oaths that you can take, and they're very cool. And I think they cover like a good 75% of all bases that you could basically need when you're rolling up a paladin. We will get into like reflavor and stuff later.
Okay,
but they basically come in like 3 versions. One is definitely the lawful good way. It's the oath of devotion, and it's an oath where you're dedicated to these ideals. You're dedicated to honesty, courage, compassion, honor, and duty. Like we're talking like the real good old boy, the real, like the Captain America,
right?
If you will. And Captain America is basically a paladin as far as I'm concerned.
A giant Boy Scout.
Yeah, exactly. This is the traditional paladin, and it gets really cool things like So the divine characters get what are called channel divinities at certain levels,
right.
And they're like spells.
Those are freaking cool.
They're basically spells that aren't spells, and the cleric gets like turn undead and whatnot. And for each oath that you take, you get different channel divinities. And so the devotion oath, you get things like sacred weapon, where you can imbue a weapon that you're holding with like positive, good energy, and it's going to do extra damage and stuff like that. You get something very like the cleric's turn undead, where you get turn the unholy, and as an action you present your holy symbol, just like turn undead. Speak a prayer censuring fiends and undead. So each fiend and undead that can see or hear you within 30 feet has to make a wisdom save. If the creature fails a saving throw, it is turned for 1 minute. So it's just like turn undead, but it also applies to fiends. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, fiends, man. Do you think the paladin ever gets tired?
No, paladins never tire. They never tire.
I know I do.
Tired.
We should take a short rest.
We should take a short rest. We've been talking a lot. All right.
Hey everybody, my name is Adam, and I host the D&D 5th Edition podcast called The Stubborn Heroes. Here's a sample of the show.
I'm afraid an 11 persuasion is not going to persuade me. And it just sounds crazy to you before
What are you talking about again?
Oh, just forget about it. You would never understand.
You won't give me the glowing orb thing to play with? I can't play with any swords on the wall. This is no fun.
I will talk to a bird.
Hi! How are you? Hi!
Hello there, bird.
Hi there!
I am done with the game.
I am the being of 1,000 faces.
Well, that's a little bit creepy.
Then I'm just gonna pull out my bow and shoot an arrow right into his head.
Okay, what's more? No, what's more effective? I have a great sword. I'm gonna cut him right in half.
You can catch us on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Twitter, or any of your favorite podcasting apps, all at Stubborn Heroes. Thanks for listening.
Hey everybody, I want to take this opportunity to thank you guys so much again for listening and watching. As always, we really appreciate the support and can't thank you enough. There's some people in particular that Will wants to shout out today to thank.
Yeah, quick shout out to the people who went ahead and tweeted out about our show and with the hashtag Dungeoncast. They both got entered into our contest where we're giving away 2 copies of the Tales from a Yawning Portal book, the newest D&D book coming out in the beginning of April. And also, they're getting the shout out. So thank you to Mr. Matthew L. Allen. Thank you to O'Mealy's. Thank you to Daydream Tiger 1. And thank you to Varnish Truth. We really appreciate it, guys. Thanks for entering the contest.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Always great to hear from somebody on Twitter or anywhere really, to see those YouTube comments coming in and the likes and subscribes and the views. It's very touching, so thank you guys very much. You can find our podcast on soundcloud.com/The Dungeoncast. You can find us on YouTube, or you can tweet at us at The Dungeoncast. You can also send us an email at thedungeoncast@gmail.com if that is your skis. I'm feeling rested.
You feeling rested?
I think. Are you feeling rested?
I think I'm feeling rested.
Let's get back to the show.
Hell yeah.
And we're back.
We're back.
Yes. It was good. It was good.
Good old rest.
Can't beat it.
So I think before the rest, we were talking about the Oath of Devotion, and basically that's the very holy, very righteous, very lawful good path to take. After that, they list the Oath of Ancients, which I think is a very interesting oath. And before 5th edition, I hadn't seen anything like this, but I really like the flavor of this oath. It is an oath that's really tied to nature, and it's a very neutral good kind of oath. It's
that's cool. This is something I don't know about.
Yeah, it's the kind of oath you'll see elves take, and basically they're devoted to something that they call the light, but basically it's just that which is good. And so their oaths are they all have to do with the light, and they say things like kindle the light, which that means through your acts of mercy, kindness, and forgiveness, kindle the light of hope in the world, beating back despair.
Okay.
Shelter the light. Where there is good, beauty, love, and laughter in the world, stand against the wickedness that would swallow it. Where life flourishes, and against forces that would render it barren.
Okay, Lantern Corps.
Yeah, there we go. Preserve your own light. Delight in song and laughter, in beauty and art. If you allow the light to die in your own heart, you can't preserve it in the world. And then lastly, but not least, be the light. Be a glorious beacon for all those who live in despair. Let the light of your joy and courage shine forth in all of your deeds. So it's not telling you any hard things to do. It's just saying be good, stay good, spread good. Be a dope dude.
Eat good for breakfast.
Eat good. Yeah, enjoy life. That's what this oath is about. Sing, laugh, have a good time, eat good food.
That's pretty cool.
Enjoy that which is good in the world and spread goodness. That's a pretty cool oath, because again, you don't even need an excuse to not be lawful good here.
Yeah.
You can be neutral good and it's not a problem, or even chaotic good. You can be chaotic good and follow this very easily.
Happen.
Yeah. So I like it. It's also, again, very nature-y. So you're going to get a lot of spells that are very nature-based, like plant growth and speak with animals.
Right.
And you get ice storm at high levels and commune with nature.
Oh, that sounds awesome. Those are all really cool things to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a lot of nature. You're walking through nature a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And your channel divinities are, one of them is nature-based. You get a channel divinity called Nature's Wrath, in which you can invoke primeval forces to ensnare your foe. So basically vines and roots and stuff will spring up out of nowhere and ensnare your foe, and I think they got to make a strength or dex save and
limit movement and things
limits. I think it immobilizes or whatever the conditions called in this game, because it changes from game to game. And immobilized I think is in 4th edition, but it's going to be something along those lines in this one.
That's like an Adventure Zone when they're is there no bluff check? Is that not a thing? And they do it over multiple episodes.
Well, it's because
that conversation.
In 4th edition you have a bluff check.
Yes, that's why.
And
they were used to 4th.
They were used to 4th, yeah. But now it's a deception check.
They're just is there no bluff check? What is it? And they gotta look on the sheet and they're deception? Is okay.
I guess. Well, I don't know. In our game, sometimes I'll call for a diplomacy check, but there is no diplomacy check. It's a persuasion check.
Right.
Yeah. So it's the same but a little different.
You get as close as you can.
Yeah, and then the last oath in the Player's Handbook is the Oath of Vengeance, which is what good old Glader has. And it is the most zealous of oaths, but it also lets you kind of fall out of the good territory and into the lawful neutral territory.
Right.
Because you're basically trying to push your agenda at almost any cost to stop that which is evil, including maybe doing things that aren't exactly so good. And the oaths are fight the greater evil, which means if you have the choice between fighting something that's super evil and there's something that's just okay, a thief and a demon, go for the demon.
Yeah. A thief, somebody else will
yeah, exactly. No mercy for the wicked, which means Glader shows all the time, he kills without mercy. Doesn't think about it for a second.
Yeah, it's cool that we're not necessarily, none of us are really wicked in any kind of way. Not even Thanic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly.
So that's handy. He can totally be around us.
The next oath is by any means necessary. Like, and here I'm going to read this. My qualms can't get in the way of exterminating my foes. Like, damn. Like, cold-blooded Punisher status killer. Like, there you go. And then, finally, the last oath is restitution. If my foes wreak ruin on the world, it is because I failed to stop them. I must help those harmed by their misdeeds.
Shit, man.
Yeah, this is so Batman. Like, Batman blames himself for his parents' death. Yeah, that makes no fucking sense. He was 8 years old.
I wonder
but still,
if Jake read that and was like, "This is Batman Punisher."
Yeah,
that's what I'm gonna be.
I think that's exactly how he went through, and that's exactly how he acts. Yeah, absolutely. And this is a cool path. It's very reminiscent to a class that exists in 4th edition called the Avenger, which was basically this, except for in 4th edition, Avengers were more like zealous assassins and hunters, and they wore cloth armor.
Oh, wow, okay.
And it was their faith that gave them like an extra boost to their armor, and their agility and all that stuff. But much like the Avenger class, the Vengeance Paladin in 5th edition is incredibly good at hunting shit down. If they get an enemy in their sights, that enemy is not getting away. I'm sure you've seen later, like, enemies start running and they ain't getting anywhere because he's coming for their ass. Indeed. Yeah, that's the Vengeance Paladin. They get like Hunter's Mark, and they get their vow of enmity, which is really cool. As a bonus action, they can utter an
Hunter's
oath.
Mark and stuff like that.
Yeah,
those are really cool.
Yeah, but as their channel divinity, vow of enmity, as a bonus action, they can utter an oath, which against a creature that they can see, and I think they just get advantage on all attack rolls on that creature. Like, they're just really good at dispensing justice. Yeah, basically you. You're like, oh shit. So yeah, that's the Vengeance Paladin.
Hell yeah.
So, I mean, we don't need to get into the nitty gritty of it all. I don't know if you got any questions before I move on to the next subject, but you know, I don't want to just parrot the player's handbook, but I do want to talk about like all the major things that make a paladin a paladin.
I have like a general combat question that just bubbled up. Like when you're being intimidating in combat, is it typical for you to like have your player roll like an intimidation check?
Yeah, I will definitely.
And it'll affect accordingly in battle. Like
I might dispense disadvantage on something, or maybe advantage on an attack or something like that.
Because I had a guy flee D'Artagnan.
Yeah, you did. Or it's like that can happen too. Yeah, absolutely.
And you didn't even have to roll that high because you guys were murdering many people.
Yeah, that's the thing. You got to take like what's actually happening into account because sometimes it doesn't need to be a high roll.
And like, maybe this guy's standing in the back. He's probably a fucking coward anyway. So like
there you go.
Yeah, you scared the shit out of him, and he like I was just like, okay, he's just gonna use all of his movement.
Yeah, and that's exactly how it would
just like
it would
fear,
go.
like I didn't have him make a save or anything. It just like made sense to do that, so I just did.
And that's exactly how you should do it. I feel.
Okay.
Because like I didn't roll high, but at the same time, like all his dudes are getting killed. D'Artagnan looks scary as shit.
Yeah,
and
you did like an effect to like boost the.
My thaumaturgy.
Boost your check, but like lower the DC,
if you will. Theoretically.
Right,
you know?
right. And I was like, oh, cool. That'll make it easier to that is more intimidating.
Yeah.
So with an average roll, you're doing above average things in an average way. It's above average.
Exactly. Well done. In my opinion, I think that's exactly how it should be done. And I'm sure most DMs out there would agree. Probably. Maybe not.
Let us know.
Yeah, let us know.
How do you DM?
So, there aren't any options in the player's handbook for a truly evil paladin, and which is understandable because I think Wizards of the Coast has a stance on they don't want to put anything in their like core player book that has like evil options because like the game traditionally is supposed to be heroes in a world of evil and trying to stop evil. And I agree with that. So I don't think like the Blackguard should be in this book at all.
Okay.
But I do love the Blackguard, and it is my favorite iteration of the Paladin. Lawful Evil's probably my favorite alignment. There's just something about it that intrigues the hell out of me. Dr. Doom is like my favorite villain of all time. That dude's really cool. Super lawful evil. I love
Darth Vader. He's very lawful evil as well.
Yeah,
there's just something fascinating about someone who does things that are horrible, but under this like code of ethics, like they make it logical to themselves, or like they feel that it's the right thing to do.
This is so damn necessary. Like, how could somebody not do this? That's how Dr. Doom is always like. He's like, how is somebody not doing this?
Like
I'll do it.
I'll do it. Like I'm the one.
Yes,
you know, like
always, dude.
Oh yeah, he's very full of himself. D'Artagnan is very much. He actually, I had told you that he's very based off Vegeta. He's more based on like Dr. Doom.
That's
like,
cool.
He's
man.
very Dr. Von Doom.
Dr. Doom is really, really cool.
Yeah. So
I like the comic pops where they talk about Dr.
Oh,
Doom.
He's the coolest fucking bad Marvel has. He's just awesome. And I hate the movie iterations of him are fucking horrible. But moving on, let's get back to Paladins. So because those options aren't in here, they have released some Unearthed Arcana, which is very fitting. But it's not official yet, and also I didn't necessarily like it too much. So for D'Artagnan, who is very lawful neutral, lawful evil, I decided not to take that. Right now, he hasn't gotten to his oath yet, so I haven't had to make that decision. But he's underneath a lot of reflavoring. I've reflavored a lot of not the base effects of what he does, like lay on hands, steal heals. But because of the nature of his oath and whatnot, it doesn't make sense that he would really have a healing power of holiness. So his lay on hands is very painful, and rather than it just like magically just like healing and everything's all better, like literally it like almost reverses time on the wound, and it, like you go through all the pain of a healing wound, and it's really agonizing. Yeah, in reverse.
Like your wound is sealing up, and it's like, oh god.
Yeah. So if you want the healing, you better be willing to earn it.
Yep.
Which is very, very much falls in line with D'Artagnan's
and
oath.
It'll probably be like, come here, you little whiny motherfucker.
Exactly, like here. And if you can't take it, you don't deserve it. And which is falls in line with D'Artagnan's oath. So only the worthy may rule, and only the strong are worthy, and so on and so forth. And rather than make him divine, because rather than make him serve a deity, because you hadn't come up with it yet, and I didn't feel like... See, the problem was, because he was lawful evil, if I make him straight serve a deity, then we're going to run into some serious problems, because that deity is going to want some real dark shit.
Probably.
So I made him sworn to a crown, and rather than a crown that he's serving, he is the very crown which he serves. And D'Artagnan is very self-serving.
Yes.
He basically serves his family's bloodline. It's all about the family.
Right.
It's all about the honor, the prestige, the majesty, the power, and furthering that agenda
and it's
at all costs.
At what he thinks, his point of view of what it should be.
Exactly.
Right.
Very much like Dr. Doom, he thinks he should be in charge of everything.
Right.
And not because he wants to... Dr. Doom's more evil than like D'Artagnan is, but D'Artagnan sees it as like his right and what is right.
Yes.
And
of course it's right. I'm me.
Exactly, very much. So he's an asshole, and I don't usually play asshole characters, but it's been a lot of fun playing D'Artagnan.
He's very interesting.
Yeah.
He's very decisive and a lot of fun to see. Let's see what this motherfucker's gonna do right now.
Exactly.
Because he's rolling, and I love the bard too. That's
his bard, his temporary bard buddy. It'll be a lifelong friendship, maybe. We'll see how long their lives really are.
Yeah.
But the things that make D'Artagnan still very traditionally a paladin is that focus, that determination. He has a higher purpose that he adheres to at all costs.
Yep, he's on the move.
He's got a quest. He's doing his thing.
Right.
And so like throughout his development, like with you as the dungeon master, like between the two of us, we'll be reflavoring stuff as we need to. Like his divine smite probably isn't going to be radiant damage. It's probably going to be fire damage, maybe necrotic, but I think fire because of his very fiery
I like
background.
how fire is playing so much into like who you are.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really cool.
He comes from a bloodline that goes all the way back to the Nine Hells, and so very fiery there, very brimstone and ash. Fits
into my like elemental thing I got going on,
which is cool. Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. And then like it's quite possible we'll take like the Oathbreaker from which is a different path, a different oath that you could take, even though it's a non-oath out of the DMG, which is official. So I'm comfortable taking it, and it's very fiery based in a lot of ways. Like you get, I think you get Burning Hands as a spell, or maybe it's Hellish Rebuke. Either way, some fire spell.
We'll have to work out when you get to your oath, like what that is, like who or what it is you take that oath with.
Exactly. So in some ways, though, this character is a blackguard. In other ways, he's just like an infernal themed paladin, like a Hell Knight, if you will. And I want to encourage that type of things, because sometimes the Paladin can feel very one-dimensional. Like, I love Glader. I think he's a great character, and I think Jake's a great player. Glader is incredibly one-dimensional.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, because he's got one thing on the mind and one thing only, and it leads to one thing: dispensing justice and killing evil. So, I mean, sometimes that can get boring, and the Paladin doesn't have to be like that. The Paladin doesn't have to be one-dimensional. And you don't have to do the evil spin on it to make it non-one-dimensional, but that's what I did, and I did an
We're in
interesting
some settings as well where it's like there are lots of enemies to fight. There's like lots of combat going on, and like he's also he's been in a position where he needs to be a diplomat.
Exactly.
And his high charisma makes that very like otherwise like if we're in like if he's being like an emissary of some kind or something like that, or if we're in combat, that's what he's doing, and he's doing it really well usually, and you know, it's up to the fate of the die, of course, a lot of time, but otherwise, he is a little quiet, you know. Yeah,
he's very quiet and reserved, but that's okay. That's his character.
He's not
like,
doing
it's not boring.
It's like there's nothing for him to do right now.
Yeah, but I think what I'm trying to say with all these words I'm saying is basically don't feel discouraged from playing a paladin, or don't like try and avoid a paladin because you feel it's too one-dimensional or whatnot. It's not. It doesn't have to be. It can be a really fully fleshed out, really dynamic character.
Yeah, it's up to you. It's up to you and the DM. I'm sure if you've got a great DM, which most DMs are great, will help you like promote that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Take all that into account and put you in positions where your character can shine.
Absolutely. So with that being said, I think I'm done on things I have to say about the Paladin right now off the top of my head. You got any more questions?
What I want to talk about D'Artagnan a little more.
Okay, sure.
What I kind of want to know, like, when you get to that level, it's level 3 where
you take an oath, yeah.
So what did you have in mind?
Okay, so I personally feel like the Sacred Oath level of a Paladin is, like, probably the most important level.
Yeah,
and
level
I feel
3
like
is big for a lot of classes.
And I feel like most level ups you're not going to do anything special for. You're probably just you're stronger now.
Yeah, you get a little boost.
Yeah, I think for the Oath, I would like D'Artagnan to have to go through some sort of an initiation, like, and we could flavor that differently. Like maybe he literally, because of the devil's blood that flows through him, maybe at some point he feels like a call. Like he just feels it, like
and
this need, like I have to go to a location. It's time.
There is an in-game plot point, which I'm okay with revealing to you as D'Artagnan, where this has already been like, basically you're going to run into a position where that you're going to be put in that position where the party, and probably mostly you, are going to feel a call and go and speak with something. Yeah. So that might be something that you're like, hey. We got to the location. I know it's kind of going on a little bit. I can go from here.
Yeah, absolutely. So it could be 3. Yeah, I know, right? It could be something like that. It could be something more like official, like maybe at some point, like I could have done this work later, but I didn't. But like at I think you guys started at level 3 as it was.
Yes, we did.
Okay, but like what I would have done with later is I would have literally had like his bros come and find him, and be like, it's time, like. Blah 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 blah. Come with us, and he would go for like a week or 2. There'd be like an initiation thing, and then he would be forced to take the oaths. So I feel like it's a big level for paladins, and as a DM, you should probably, if you can work it in, make it something big, make it feel special, because like leveling up should mean more than just the stats on the page.
Yeah, like you don't just level up in D&D. I feel like you grow. Like you've gone through a lot of like interactions and had like social experiences that are also helping you like reach the next level. Like, leveling up is a lot more than just the statistical boost. The way I look at it as a DM, it's more like I'm aging, I'm growing as a character, as a person in this world.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, like, you don't take the oaths to level 3, but like the oaths are just like the official thing that you do, and they're like probably the thing that like really truly binds you to the oaths. But like you should be exemplifying those oaths all the way up until that point. Otherwise, they wouldn't let you take the oaths.
Yes, it's like now you've earned like your right to this power that you're about to receive.
Exactly.
Like, you've honored us, or honored me, or whoever, you know, or honored this code in such a way where we're going to bless you with these powers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or bless, however you want to do that.
So for paladins in actual fiction, like maybe modern day fiction, the main one that comes to my mind is Captain America. because the dude has a code of conduct. He has a higher ideal that he stands for, and he stands by it no matter what. He's incredibly charismatic, and even though he doesn't have like divine powers, and he is totally roided up with the super soldier serum, like one could argue, and I would definitely argue that like a lot of his abilities come straight from his faith and devotion to what he does. Like
that's
even
the Steve Rogers.
That's the Steve Rogers in him. You know, that's the super soldier serum makes him super strong and super fast, but like it's that that drive that like pushes him that much further and makes him even more capable than someone else who has a super
and he
soldier
had that
serum.
before he got the serum.
Exactly.
Made him like that's a good pick. You know?
Other paladins I can think of in fiction, the Knights of the Round Table are very paladin-like.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot is taken from them to make the class of
Yeah,
paladin.
that holy warrior that's going like a Templar or something like that.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
Jedi, probably like
Jedi are very paladin-like. Yeah, definitely.
Not all of them, but
Obi-Wan Kenobi is a fucking paladin.
Yeah,
like,
basically.
God, I love Obi-Wan. He's so cool.
He's pretty dope.
Yeah, he's very lawful good, and yeah, the Jedi Order is very lawful, and to a higher cause. So I would definitely say the Jedi are paladin.
There's a Shooting Star song I showed you. There's a meme where Obi-Wan's getting choked by
oh God. Okay.
What's his face? Lord Tyrannus.
Okay. Yeah.
That's his Sith name. I'm blanking right now, but he like chokes him. Yeah, Count Dooku. He's force choking him, and then he like takes off like a rocket.
Oh
and he's
God.
Like,
Oh, that's so stupid, God. And the Sith are very anti-paladin, or not anti-paladin. That's something else, but very blackguard, where they're lawful evil.
Yeah.
They have their own like code that they follow.
Right.
And it's based off selfish things, but it's still a code. I don't know. Any other paladins in fiction that you can think of off the top of your head?
Yeah, Link's not really a paladin.
No.
It's like our go-to.
No, I would say if he was, he'd be a paladin of the ancients, where it's all about spreading good.
Oh, that's cool.
And being good.
Yeah.
He's very neutral good, I would think.
Yeah, he's just trying to make things better.
But yeah, so that's it for the paladin.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're gonna call it a game.
Yeah, we're gonna call it a game right here.
Thanks for listening. As always, is there anything we need to talk about at the end here?
No.
Don't forget about the contest. Tweet us out. Put a link out.
By all means, please share our show for the contest. And also, if you like what we're doing here and you want to help, that's the most important thing you can do to help is sharing the show with your friends, with your family, on social media, Twitter, whatnot.
Yeah, just tell us if you think there's somebody out there that you know that would like our show. Send them our way. I mean, we'd love to do a show for them. Tweet out, and maybe they'll get their name out on here.
Yeah, absolutely. With that, I think we could say goodbye.
All right. See you guys later. Thanks.
Bye.